everyone, and welcome to Little Legends Podcast. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, is Boob. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Anytime I say that, I don't know why in my head I go, how's it gonna be? Anytime I say how's
How's it gonna be
it's going all right. It's going all
when
right.
you're Kenobi?
I had to take a week off yesterday, but it's good to be back talking all things TFT on TF Tuesday.
On TF Tuesday, definitely a thing now. It wasn't before.
Yeah, it only took us. What episode is this?
I think it's 39.
Yeah, it only took us 39 episodes to figure that out. So.
Although we did an episode 0 because I'm an idiot. And
40 episodes. Yeah.
I don't know why I always do that. Like, why don't I just make the pilot episode 1?
Or like 0.5, so we can constantly have a 0.5 by our episode.
Just really ruin it for everyone, including us.
Yeah, those metrics.
Yeah. So there's 40 episodes, but actually this is episode 39 because I'm an idiot. But no matter, we've got a lot of TFT stuff to talk about this week. We've got some official tournament stuff coming up, Midset updates, and of course the 10.10 patch notes. But before we get to all of that, of course, we got to get through some housekeeping. As you guys know, we're a prediction esports podcast, PREEDICTION esports on all of your podcast providers. All of that. Make sure iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. Search for Prediction and throw that a sub, a follow, a whatever, leave a review. All of that really does help. It certainly does. You guys can also support us over at patreon.com/Little Legends Podcast. I updated some of the stuff on there. I think I did. Yeah, I definitely did. Maybe. Updated some of the tiers and whatnot. So take a look at that if you'd like. And support us there. You can also support us and get one of, if you're watching in Video World, get one of these awesome Ready for Battle shirts. You can definitely do that. Check out our Discord or Twitter for the link there. And speaking of Discord, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast is the place to be to talk TFT and to do TFT game nights on Fridays, 9 Eastern. Make sure you're there. Discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. I will be back this week. Eric Thomas did, and we thank him for this, take the helm and run game night last week. And as far as I can tell, went off without a hitch. So that's good. Good Eric stepping up. Thank you, buddy. Keeping the Lobby 2 vibe, the Eric-y Lobby 2 vibes alive.
Lobby 2 is a weird place.
It's a weird place, but it's a great place.
As a Lobby 2er myself, it's a weird place, and I love it. I wouldn't change anything about it. You know, it's so weird that part of me thinks that we're going to go back on Friday, and like things are going to be like totally different.
There's going to be like all these inside jokes that we don't get, and like everything's going to be wrapped in
foil.
We're the rats.
And opposite of what it used to be.
Yeah.
You know.
Wait, Eric Thomas isn't here. There's a guy named Thomas Eric here. What?
Got to be a different person.
Has to be a different person. Everyone's speaking backwards.
Way. Yeah,
it's like a David Lynch film all over again.
Yes, when confusion means it's a good movie. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Hey, don't knock Twin Peaks, all right? That was a okay, I got nothing to say about Twin Peaks.
Well, let's talk about some TFT, my friend, because I don't want to talk about Twin Peaks.
Neither do I. I don't want to talk about Twin Peaks either, ever again, in fact. Yes, so TFT, I've been putting a little extra time in this week, and I feel like I keep ending up going Cybernetics. Like, no matter what, I end up in Cybernetics. Doesn't matter what galaxy it is. It doesn't matter what I start. It doesn't matter what I get in the open. I don't know how. I'm not even like actively trying to do it. It's like, okay, here's a pack with 5 Lucians in it. Go for it. I'm like, I guess I have to. How do you not?
An early Lucian 2 is just like so clutch. Right, punches out so much of that damage, and like, well, I also think Cybernetics is one of the more like consistently top 4 comps, just like in general.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get your economy going. If you're able to econ and like push to 8/9,
Yeah.
then you should be fine. But if you can bonk, you can bonk a cybernetics comp.
Yeah.
Depending on especially if it's contested, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting. It doesn't seem, at least in my games, I didn't see a ton of Irelia 3s. Maybe it's just in my lobbies, but that's definitely been a thing to worry about for me.
I definitely did see an Aurelia 3 that game. It was just my Aurelia 3, and I won that game. I found the problem, and it kind of ties into the problem we talked about 2 weeks ago with Rebel Blast, or not Rebel Blasters, Brawler Blasters, is that like there's some overlap there, and I end up like starting a Lucian like Cybernetics build, and then I'll pick up some Brawlers just in case, and it's I'll pick up the Cybernetics just in case, and I end up with like 15 gold worth of units for 2 different comps on my bench, and I don't know which. And I'm like, well, whichever 4 costs I get if I get an Aurelia first, I'll go that. If I get a Jinx first, I'll go that. And then I get a Kale, and I'm like, I could go that too. So I've got like remnants of 3 different comps just sitting on my bench, just eating away at the income I could be making, and it doesn't
it's
help
just
me.
like there's usually like a cybernetic, like in a lot of the things that are good right now. Like, what do a lot of people start with? Poppy and Leona, who's a cybernetic Leona, right? So you can get to 3. You pick up your Lucian. It's pretty easy to get to 3 cybernetics, which is like an all right origin early on, or trait, synergy, class, whatever.
Thing.
My brain is on. I like am post nat, but also post 4th copy, like coffee. So like I'm in a weird mental space. Anyway,
it's called the podcast zone.
Welcome to the podcast zone. You shall anyway.
You will be a podcaster. No one gets that joke.
No, just us. Still funny.
Hilarious.
If you're not laughing with us, you're wrong.
Yeah,
but
correct.
What I'm trying to say is that like it just like is one of those things where you just kind of end up with, if you're going brawlers, all right, you got Vi, right? Blade Masters, you got Irelia, right? Like there's a cybernetic kind of like in a lot of those linchpin comps, except for the mage based comps.
Yeah.
And the Mech Infiltrator. But everything else, I think you could definitely go into Cybernetics. It's just after level 6 or 7, you've got to, I think, make a decision.
Yeah.
Right? You can be a little flexible earlier on, but eventually you've got to commit. And I think that's the hardest thing about Cybernetics, is actually when you start committing items and stuff.
That's true.
To the comp. Because I actually really like running Cybernetics too. I've gotten some really consistent results. A couple victories, but mostly top 4s.
I actually think it's in a really good spot right now, because it is very strong and relatively consistent, and you can pick up the units along the way, and you don't really need the win condition might be tier 3 like Aurelia, or maybe like tier 3 Kale if you go that route. And either of those are fine, because right now, or pre-patch 1010, which we'll be talking about later, people are going for their tier 3 1 cost, the Twisted Fates, the Poppies, the all of these other units, Zoes and whatnot. And like, it's not really taking away, like they're not hyper rolling for Aurelias. They're not even necessarily taking Aurelias. The Willy Wonka and Candyland and all those comps, they're not running Aurelias or Kales. So it's like a different angle, and it's actually kind of opened up Cybernetics a lot. So I think it's actually a pretty decent, or at least it was a pretty decent build. I think it still probably will be after this patch as well. So I'm just like, I kind of want to go something else, and everyone's like, I stacked the Aurelia, and
there's also like a really good like early game package with Chronos with Cybernetics too, that you can go, and like it's just like one of those things that like you can go 3 you could be good at the cyber at 3 cybers, and then again transition into it a little later, but then it's like the Cybernetic, in order to get top floor, is so dependent on those on Echo and Irelia,
right?
And it's funny because like then you have the MF issue where Echo cancels MF hold.
The cardinal sin.
Yeah, and so like because you're trying to go blasters, or maybe you've got a Kale, so you got Valkyrie too, right? Like there's just like a lot of different ways to work around its core, and I think that's a good thing. right? Because
Yeah.
Irelia as a 3 trait like unit,
Mm-hmm.
those have been an issue in the past,
True.
right? Like Gnar,
Gnar.
Viger,
Old
back in the
Gangplank.
yeah, old Gangplank, and I think they've done a good job at kind of limiting the amount of power level and power creep. I think that could
Mm-hmm.
have happened with these triple trait units, which are supposed to be the ones that like link different synergies
Right.
together. So that's the thing about Cybernetics that I think is pretty cool, is that
Mm-hmm.
it is arguably one of the more flexible early games, but really punishing if you lean into it too late. Just like if you kind of
Right.
stick with Chronos too long,
Yeah.
right? Eventually you just start losing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have found, because like you get to a point where everyone has sort of leveled up and you're like, oh, I need this echo. And then people start getting their 3 cost, like 3, or their 3-star 3 costs and whatnot. And it's like, well, I need this 2-star echo now. It's like you really need to get there quickly. So it's definitely a different play style than some of the other comps, and it's been working. It's been working at least decently for me.
It's definitely one of the comps that tests your economy,
Yeah.
right? Like being able to manage an economy, knowing when to level, knowing when to push to 8, to get your 5 cost units to drop a little bit more often and potentially push you to Irelia 3
Yeah.
as well. But it is something that can kind of screw you over too, because if you don't, 3-star, maybe that Leona, if you don't get the right items too, right? Because sometimes you have bonk items. Was it us that cat? No, Rissa and I casted a Leona that had an IE and a Bloodthirster on it,
Ugh.
and that comp got second. So like, itemization is important, but you got to make sure that the unit, I think, gets value out of what you're putting on,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just a health and attack damage boost. You wanna push advantages, right?
Right.
So that it's not as punishing as just regular, like brawler blasters when it
Hmm.
comes to items, but there is counterplay to Cybernetics, which is
Sure.
also really good, right?
Yeah. I have found that I actually would rather go the death caps on Aurelia
It's fun,
than,
isn't it?
yeah. Well, because it's like someone did the math and it's like similar damage to IE, but like everyone's running Bramble Vest now. So it like stops the power level of that. So definitely definitely something to think about more. Well, maybe it won't be. I think they'll still probably be in a good spot, but we'll talk more about what we think about the implications of the patch when we get to that. Excuse me, in a little bit. But before we get to that, let us talk about. I talked a little bit last week about the OCENA qualification process and how we're getting the snapshots, the weekly snapshots of the top players and the points that they're getting for qualifying for this event. But we also now got the Team Liquid official tournament that is happening. The Liquid Galaxies qualifiers, brought to you by Jersey Mike Subs.
I love Jersey Mike's.
I've never had it before.
You've never had it?
It's not
Is
really
it a regional thing?
It's
like ish.
It's kind of. I think it's because like, yeah, I don't. There are definitely are. It's more of like a downstate thing. Obviously, Jersey and New Jersey. So, like
there
New
is
York City area has it, but I'm
one
not.
Jersey Mike's close to me, and I love me a cold cut sandwich. And so like,
More of a
and I love
DeBellas
shredded
type of guy.
lettuce. All right.
I
I
love
like
DeBellas.
shredded lettuce versus like I really liked Blimpie. Remember that?
Nope, never had it. That might be a regional thing too.
Okay, well then sandwiches are great anyway.
True. I've had
but yeah, Jersey
Firestone
Mike's,
subs.
thanks.
That's pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Potbelly, also a very good sandwich place. Anyway,
Yeah, screw this. Let's just talk about sandwiches. The rest
we've
of
got a whole PowerPoint ready to go.
We've got a deck.
Yeah, we've got a deck for this. But no, two things about the Liquid Invitational that I think is really cool. So Liquid Galaxy sounds like a potential galaxy in the future. I don't know what that would be. Maybe all of the items are tier based or something.
Okay.
But Liquid Galaxy is just a cool combination of words.
Yeah. True.
And that's it. I think that there's potential there. It's like when you think of a title for something that you want to do and then you make the thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing.
Top down design.
Yeah, and the second one is like it seems like these things are kind of ramping up in frequency, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? Remember in set 2, we didn't really have anything other than Giant Slayer,
Right.
right?
We had
And in
literally
set
nothing.
yeah, and in set 3, we've already got some cruise stuff, we've
Yeah.
got some liquid stuff, and it's like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 stuff, which is like really,
Right.
really cool.
Yeah.
So like the I guess tournament economy seems to be getting a lot better, and I like that it's like an application phase too.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, because like with TFT, unlike something that's a single player format, it's like there kind of needs to be a certain number of people. Like it has to be the right number of people, or else it gets really crazy because you've got 8-player lobbies, and for something like this, you likely want to have you know, you don't want to have random people in them, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm.
So yeah, guys, if you I'll put the actually, if you go to our Discord, discord.me/Little Legends podcast, I put the link to register for the Liquid Galaxies tournament in there. So make sure you check that out if you want to play. It's going to be on Saturday, May 16th. So this Saturday that's coming up, if you're listening to this in real time or close to it as it's released, it is May 16th, 2020. The prize pool of $1,000 and registrations are opening up soon. And then, of course, there's going to be another one. There will be a new one every Saturday all the way up to July. So this is really cool. We've got we've got a tournament scene going.
You know, and this podcast also has 2 casters.
It's true.
That would 100% help with advertise. We're already advertising it.
It's true.
You know,
And we would take payment as low as Jersey Mike subs. Also, for the record, that's not actually true. I'm just saying that as a joke. DMs are open, by the way, for both of us. But
we're so bad, dude. We're so gross with self promo.
I don't
it's
care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
But you know what's not gross? Jersey Mike subs. Channeling my inner golden boy here and selling out for something that I'm not even sponsored by and have actually never even eaten.
Dude, it's good. You might find one in an airport one day.
I have seen it in the airport.
Yeah.
But did you know that it's a fast casual? Okay, I'm not going to read the description. You know, I've heard they've been around since 1956 and are passionate about giving back to the local communities. But yeah, really, really cool. I mean, this is sort of what we expected, right? Like,
yeah, every Saturday. And like the other thing is like we've got Giant Slayer on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Yeah.
Liquid on Saturdays, and that should, in my opinion, be moderately similar. Liquid is one of the, if not the most well-known esports organization outside of Korea.
It's certainly like a top 10 one.
Yeah,
and
sure. And like with all of that going on, I think it's going to be really, really cool to see if eventually that prize pool increases.
Yeah.
Because something that I've noticed with a lot of TFT organizers, or like even just like our podcast, right? People seem very, very surprised by how much interest there is in this game.
Yeah.
Because like the other thing is like it's been pretty consistent on Twitch. Like, remember, I was really worried about when Legends of Runeterra would come out, that it would just like neuter the viewership. It hasn't. No. And I think that like at all, I was wrong. Right. So
I've actually got some thoughts on that. Just considering that I'm in both of those communities, that like, I mean, we don't need to go too deep into it, but the communities are very different. I found, like, in terms of like the type of players that are playing, at least at a competitive level. It's like what it breaks down to, or at least what I've experienced, is TFT is very much like a branch off of the genetic path of League or HOTS or the MOBAs, and LOR is very much a branch off of MTG. Now, there's definitely like crossover, like, you know.
Yeah, there's like the Venn diagram, right?
Right. But I think that the two left sides are...
I don't want to cut you off, but I think the first time I've ever felt bad about that. But
it's all for comedic. You definitely wanted to cut me off.
This would be a really, really good question to ask our guest next week.
Yes.
So we'll get like into like deep talks with that one, because that might be like a 45-minute thing. So I'm excited about that. Really excited about that, and we'll
Yes.
announce who the guest is when it's appropriate.
Yes.
But
so make sure you're checking out the Twitter and Discord.
yeah. And so what that means is that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there's still openings for people to do weekly tournaments.
True.
And like this is the coolest thing because Riot's doing this with Valorant too. One of the best parts about like early Overwatch, and why I think the two of us got into it originally was the community grassroots feel of it.
Yes.
Right? Like you felt like you were arm in arm with these soldiers, right? And like building something.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think Riot understands of the esports community is almost a necessity. And the fact that they're being pretty friendly with like community licenses and prize pools and supportive in a sense, that's like, it's so great. Like coming from some of the challenges that Blizzard has I think with Overwatch is the lack of third party tournaments and the lack of community oriented experiences. And so they're slowly changing on that, I think. But the moral of the story is that like the fact that Liquid's doing it, we got Giant Slayer, and Giant Slayer pulls in a good amount of consistent viewership too, right? It's not like it's not worth it. And I think TFT at this point has proved that it can maintain, because even on the smaller TFT tournaments, I would say, I was casting Hearthstone the other day, and on the same channel, I think the TFT tournament got double the amount of viewers as the Hearthstone tournament.
Yeah.
Right? Like people need to stop being surprised by the popularity of this game. It's a streamer-oriented game, so we know it's good to watch, right? And all we have to do is kind of polish it off, and we should have like a legitimate esport on our hand. Not to the level of League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, and
it's a different type of sport. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a little closer to like archery, or
I don't even think. I mean, I think it'd be closer to like golf or poker or like one of those.
Definitely poker.
Yeah.
And so like, and that's good because it can develop its own niche outside of the League of Legends world that way.
Right.
And I don't know, I've been very impressed with everything so far, and seeing these community tournaments pop up and seeing like our community get so excited about it. Right. And seeing the amount of interest that people are asking for invites to these things, and some of the better players don't get invited because there are too many good players.
True.
Right. And that's really, really cool. And I'm really, really excited for the future of all of this. And we get to talk again. This is something else we get to talk about next week as well. But to kind of put a pin in it for me here, if you want to participate, go ahead. Right. Like, get that tournament experience down. It's always fun, even if you lose.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
And and you might find yourself in the money. Sometimes you kind of like fall into the top. I remember one time I was at a Hearthstone tournament and I lost in my first game, and I ran my way through the losers bracket into the semifinals. Complete fluke. I was ranked 19 at the time, like beating like rank 1 and 2 and legend players. Right. Still don't know how it happened, but it happened. It's real. And I was able to say I made it to the semifinals of a Hearthstone tournament. Right. It was so much fun, and we all get to do that. And it's one of the things we can do at our homes while quarantining and staying safe. And we need that kind of, I think, outlet for some of our anxieties and some of the stress that we're all having, because it's much better to get easier at mad at a game and your own performance than it is like just someone else's presence that's been there for the last 60 days that you just like need some time alone.
You know what can really break the monotony though, Boop?
What?
Some Jersey Mike sub established in 1950. Okay, I don't know why I'm. I just love selling out.
That's so funny to me.
I love doing that. It's one of my favorite bits is to just sell out for no reason, and when I'm not actually getting paid at all, and just G Fuel on the screen. Before we go over the patch notes, we also have another big piece of news that actually happened since the last episode, and that is the Midset update, which kind of came out of nowhere, if I'm being honest. I think more maybe hinted at something like this, or maybe that they talked about something of this nature happening a while ago, but I certainly wasn't expecting this much stuff for right in the middle of the set. So,
well, it's because last set we didn't really get it.
yeah, we got
right. We didn't get like because one of the best parts of set 1 was like the injection of like a good amount of new champions.
Yeah, we got the 4-piece Hex Tech.
Well, Hex Tech sucked.
Yeah, but it was cool when they put all of them out. It just happened.
Jinx, Jace, Camille, and who was the last one? I don't think it matters. But I think we only got Soulbound for set 2, right?
Soulbound. Yeah, was that really it? Did we really only get 2 champs?
Well, we can confirm that later, but
yeah, I don't remember.
This is I'm excited
Jace
for it because he actually like mentioned that there's gonna be this injection, and that was actually something they wanted to avoid this time, and they're definitely keeping to that. And I'm really excited because they released some astronaut skins just recently.
Yeah.
And I hope they make it into the game. And I'm gonna say it. The Gnar skin is the best skin. Oh, very interesting, actually, Blev, for all you Yordle players. 3 of the Poppy, Gnar, and Teemo, 3 of them are Yordles.
True.
So I wonder if they could do like maybe like an Omni trait or like a 2-part trait for Yordles or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what Astronaut will be. I don't know, but
well,
that Gnar skin is pretty dope. And
yeah, it's really nice.
I hope to see Teemo is, I think what Mort said, Teemo is the most requested character for TFT. We're in Galaxies. He has an astronaut skin.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week.
They just
with
made
the Hex
new
changes.
astronaut skins.
Yeah, like it is just like the Dark Star skins coming out right before this too, right? Like this has got to be some correlation.
Stars are kind of aligning a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have a better spot to use astronaut skins.
It might be Teemo's time. To finally come into the game, whether you like it or not. And the thing about Teemo is he is made to make you mad.
Yeah.
So be ready, folks, if he comes into the game.
Yeah. So the TLDR, and this is Riot's statement, not mine. The TLDR TFT Galaxies getting a mid-set update around early June, which again, we can take a look at the calendar and see like the date breakouts don't change by more than a day, so we can pretty much we can look and check pretty much exactly when this is going to be. But I haven't done that in advance, so you can do it yourself. There's going to be a new ranked act, including a reset, ranked rewards for from the launch set, Rise of the Elements, and Galaxy's first act. So we're getting our ranked rewards. Nice. A bunch of new champions and traits, and the removal of a few champions and traits. So that's a first. A whole new pass, complete with an arena, boom, eggs, and emotes. 3 new species of delicious little legends. I put in the delicious part. Bundled into one adorable egg, and then some mobile upgrades and a store for mobile. So, at a high level, good stuff. Interesting stuff. We won't go too deep into all of this just because like there are ranked rewards. You can take a look at what they are. I'll put the link.
It's a lot of like aesthetic and superficial changes.
Yeah.
Gameplay oriented.
I think the battle pass, all that. And they don't really as far as I can tell, we're not really getting they don't really get into like what they're looking to do in terms of the balancing and taking champions out and adding champions. So really, I'll put the link in the show notes for you to look over. But overall, Boop, I think the biggest thing to talk about here is the champions being added and removed.
Removed.
Yeah,
that's
removed
actually something that I'm glad they did it. But before we, I do want to read one thing about mobile.
Okay.
Just listen to this sentence. We saw over 10 million of you hop onto your phones in the first month. That's pretty good.
It's a lot of people.
And while like there's definitely of those 10 million, I would probably assume over half of them also play on PC, but it's still a good amount of people. right? And the mobile client was all about expanding the player pool, expanding the amount of people who have access to this game. It seems like they've accomplished that. But just like any other release, the first month you're always going to have your best numbers, right? It's going to be what happens after it, because it's sometimes it's like an exponential fall downwards. Not for TFT though. We've all seen that graph, but I wanted to point that out. Because it was kind of hidden in the end, and I think 10 million is a pretty good number to brag about right now.
Yeah, I think as they say in the business, we take those. Seems pretty good. But yeah, I mean, astronauts, I think that's the biggest one to think of, right? Like those are probably going to come in. They just put out all the things that we already talked about. So that's that. First, what do you have a guess at what astronaut might be?
Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea what it could be. That's the thing, right? While aesthetically astronaut makes so much sense, I don't know what that would be as a trait, right? Unless it has something like defensively, or maybe some type of thing. Since they're astronauts, they can breathe in space. Maybe they get like attack speed or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing really fits. I'd love for chat or our Discord to kind of figure it out, because maybe that's why we haven't seen it yet.
Well, so I'm thinking, if we're thinking about things that we've had before that we don't really have now, the biggest one that comes to mind, I mean, we're not going to get Hex Tech, we're not going to get Phantom, so throw those right in the trash. But you mentioned one interesting fact about the astronauts, is that 3 of them are Yordles. What did Yordles used to do? Provide dodge chance. And what don't we really have in the game right now? Dodge chance increases. I think that astronauts might be increasing dodge chance a bit. That's a defensive trait. It could be something. I mean, it doesn't have to make sense, right? I mean, it could. It doesn't need to make like thematic sense. We're getting Yordles back, baby.
I mean, if you watch more stream, every so often he'll mention that people stopped playing when Yordles went out of the game.
Yeah.
It's people want them back. Like Yordles are the most hated and most loved. It's like the people. It's the most passionate part of League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
Like what you think of Yordles, everyone has an opinion. Right, you either love them because you're an awful person on the inside, and or you hate them because you're smart and breathtaking.
Yikes.
And fit and not gaining weight during quarantine. I swear.
Yikes.
No, you need a haircut. But as I'm rocking like the Nick Carter right now, but I don't know, man. Dodge. I have opinions on Dodge just in general as a mechanic.
Yeah, I think
they got
it's
rid
less
of it
fun. Yeah.
in regular League of Legends, but maybe that's why you can kind of bring it back to this one.
Yeah.
But like the other trait I think that might happen is Pulse Fire.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of Pulse Fire skins now, and I feel like if they're gonna get rid of a trait, it's Chrono.
Interesting.
Because I think that's been very underwhelming in general, and I don't necessarily think people would miss it. I think people would be pissed if Star Guardians got taken out.
I think so too. The only reason I think that Star Guardians might get taken out is because there's the Poppy astronaut skin, and we already have Poppy. Poppy's a Star Guardian. You take out, so that's my level 1, right? Okay. If we need to take out Poppy, Poppy's a Star Guardian. That kind of takes out Star Guardians because there's only 6. It's a 6 trait. So if you take one out, it's probably you're going to take the rest of them out. Then what do you need to replace or like supplement, right? There would be like a Mystic that would need to be added for Soraka potentially.
Well, you can add a Star Guardian Blaster with Ezreal. He's got a Star Guardian skin. And I'm like,
the Chrono, absolutely. Like you could go through the same logic with Chrono too. I think that would work because like Chrono is another one of those like, or Chrono is in a different way because it's like kind of like a tack on trait for a lot of things. Like you're getting rid of a sniper, a blaster, a sorcerer, brawler. Like there's some stuff to replace for sure, but if it could certainly be It may also, like, you could get rid of one. Yeah, you could definitely just get rid of Ezreal, or switch Ezreal to something else, and
Mm-hmm.
it can work. Yeah, no, I think it definitely could be. That actually makes a little bit more sense
Because like
than
6
Star
Star
Guardians.
Guardian, 2 Blaster, if Ezreal's a Star Guardian,
Yeah,
with Lucian, it would probably be pretty good.
yeah, it would definitely be
Uh,
interesting.
because the other thing that also Jinx has a Star Guardian skin too. So, well,
Oh,
like there are a ton of Star Guardian skins. So I think you can Lux as a Star Guardian skin. The other skin line that I would love to see in the game someday, I don't think it makes very much sense here, is the anime skin line that they have with Lux. The Jace has one. Yumi has one, and I think
mm,
Yumi could actually be pretty cool. Oh, that's how I get 2 champions in 1 hex.
is with Yumi.
Is with Yumi.
Interesting. The only
Interesting.
reason I don't think that's going to happen is because I think Mort talked specifically about Yumi on one of his streams that I was watching. Like, someone asked
Okay.
him about it, and he said
Yeah,
it's unlikely. I
the
think.
Battle Academia skins. That's what the skin line is.
Okay.
And it's just like Ezreal also has one Lux. And that's the thing about Lux and Ezreal. They have so many skins. You can
Yeah.
pretty much make them a part of any trait or
True.
origin in TFT. So they'll probably lean into that. And the other thing about the Chrono, Shen has a Pulse Fire skin.
Yeah.
Caitlyn has a Pulse Fire skin.
Okay. Okay.
Um, that they're actually, I think, using on the Chrono trait right now.
Mm. So it
I
could
think
just be
there's Pulse Fire,
repurposed.
Twisted Fate. Yeah, Chrono could just be repurposed into Pulse Fire, and then
Interesting.
they add Riven. Um, they add Lucian. Yeah, I mean, I think the blasters could all get moved around too.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. It will be very. It will be extremely interesting to see what they do. I think it is, as weird as it sounds, you kind of have to do exactly what you're doing and be like, okay, which skin lines or which specific skins make sense in space, because going to be they're going to be space themed for sure, right? Like, I don't think they're going to randomly throw in uh they're not going to randomly throw in old Nar into the set, even though he could, like, theoretically be like spacey. They're not going to throw in someone that's not space themed at all into the set. So it's like, and then the flip side of that is, if you're going, like, that, now is the time to use space or alien, monster, and any of that sort of stuff that might not really fit into a future set's theme. Now's the time to use it, right? Like,
Yeah,
if there's like I don't know, a medieval theme or something, you're not going to have
there is a
Star Guardians.
D&D skin line.
Yeah. See, I'm just making
Um,
stuff up I don't even know, but
Well, and like even a lot of like the current ones could be repurposed into those other skin lines, right? Because Cho'Gath
Mhm.
also has a Dark Star skin, and
Oh,
like Dark Star Brawlers could be really good.
interesting.
But like there is a lot of cross contamination, and there are
Mhm.
some skin lines that just have a lot.
Yeah.
We could even go way back into classic skins and do like the Commando line, right? Which like is like the soldier line,
Yeah.
which
Sinjao,
is
I remember
Lux,
that.
Jin Zhao. I think Galio has one. Garen. I think there's 5 of them. But
Yeah.
in the end, there's still so many options. But you're right; they do have to be like Star Guardian, stars in the name, Dark Star.
Mhm. Mhm.
Odyssey was space themed, and
That's kind of
that's
like
where
Rebels,
Rebels are
isn't it?
coming
Yeah.
from. And then because the most of the Rebels are using their Odyssey skins,
Yeah.
and then yeah, again, there's a ton of options, but the crazy thing is that they're willing to remove a trait,
Right.
which is something I wish they would have done with Hex Tech a little while ago. But maybe they're just feeling more confident now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a legitimate way to balance the game for the future.
Balance the game, and then also, I don't even know if it's necessarily from balance. It might just be to mix things up. We'll certainly get more insight onto that, I'm sure, when it gets released. One last thought I have on it is, I think the mech. I don't think the mech will be removed. I think we might get a different mech with a different ability, and maybe
With different pilots.
it might have different pilots, or it might have some of the similar pilots, but it's a different mech, because Mort has also talked about there were 3 options that they picked between for the mech. They obviously ended up going with Garen, but the other 2 options were, oh god, who's the newest champion?
Set?
Set. It was either Set or Tibbers would have been the other mech. Those are the three options: Garen, Set, and Tibbers, and they ended up going with Garen. So
yeah, I
maybe
mean,
we'll see a different mech.
in terms of mechs, there's also Mecha Jax and Mecha Malphite.
Yeah.
And
Mecha
Aatrox.
Draven.
But yeah, Set would be cool because he has Body Slam and he's got, I think thematically that could work.
Yeah.
I would love to see Tibbers as a mech though.
Tibbers would be funny.
Tibbers would be great.
Yeah. So those are my guesses for that. Let us know in Discord what you guys think. What is going to be changed in the Midset update in regards to things being removed and things being added? Let us know. We want to talk about it in the Discord, but we're going to go to a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be talking about patch 10.10. Don't go. With currently no NBA, NHL, or MLB, you might think there's nothing to bet on. Well, you'd be wrong. Our exclusive partner, BetOnline, still has hundreds of events, games, and props to wager on. From their online casino to esports to poker and blackjack, they're bringing Vegas to you. Missing the NFL? No problem. BetOnline has live daily Madden NFL 20 simulations you can bet on. You can still bet on Survivor, Big Brother, American Idol, stock prices, and even the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. All open 24 hours a day and all online. Use promo code BLUEWIRE to join today and you'll receive a new welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online wagering solution. Welcome back, everyone. We are in the second half of the show now, talking about TFT Patch 10.10. I don't know why I said that so enthusiastically and like a sportscaster, but here we are. So, as always, we'll jump right into it and read a little teaser we get at the beginning by Riot Birnana. Welcome, captains. Shepherd your crew through patch 10.10 in the new Galactic Armory Galaxy. In this galaxy, all players start with the same 2 full items. Leverage that early power more efficiently than your opponents to achieve victory. Balance changes are starting to lighten up as we settle in and prepare for the Galaxy's Midset update, which we just talked about. The biggest changes are coming for strong Tier 1 champions Poppy, Twisted Fate, and Xayah. Let's get into it.
I don't know why when I hear Xayah too, I say it in the Scyther voice.
Xayah!
Yeah, that's it. There's no reason for it. Yeah, let's get into this. Oh, so something that before we get there, we definitely have to mention balance changes are starting to lighten up. So it seems like they're focusing on the Midset update. So that is why, in terms of changes, this has been essays in the past for a lot of it, but I think
we're pretty light.
There's 9 champion changes. That's it.
Yeah.
So
only
very light compared to the other patches.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, we've seen patches like this, but they're usually really late in the set, which I guess if you consider the first, what do they call it? The first act, right? Is that what they're calling them? Yes, the first act as a set, and this is kind of like another set in a sense. Then this would be the end of a set or something close to that. So we'll start it off with the General. Super Dense Galaxy now grants a free Force of Nature after Stage 3 Carousel rather than upon reaching level 5. If you attempt to use Nico's help on a unit with no copies left in the bag, you'll see a message telling you why it isn't working. Okay, that's just general. Reduced the chances of random full item carousel by a large amount, especially in the early carousels.
That was happening a lot.
Yeah. Item drops are now a bit more likely to appear in earlier PvE stages.
So they want you to make your items instead of just being given them.
Yes.
And there are also a couple items that are like just really strong that you would never build, but if they're completed on the carousel, like Shroud, I think is a really good example of that. Oh, speaking of, I forgot to mention this earlier. So there was a guy that had, I think it was 2 Shroud of Stillness on his team and was able to like wipe half of my team's mana. I think there's something there. Anyway,
Is this Infiltrator Malphite levels or?
no, Infiltrator Malphite. Okay, Mort played and got, I think, top 2.
Yeah, it also made a video about it. Just saying.
So
Just saying.
I was legitimately first on that. Anyway, and I would have built him differently. Anyway,
I would have gotten first.
I would have gone first. Anyway, the item drops are going to be really awesome because I think giving more power to the player to decide what items. Because
Power to the players. Is this a GameStop ad all of a sudden?
I was because I was thinking about it.
Ad.
Because oh my god, shut up, Blev. And the full item carousels were happening just really often.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 times in one game. And,
yeah, that's true.
And I just didn't like that. I felt like everyone was getting really strong really early.
Yeah.
And the decision making isn't there when you get a complete item. So the fact that you're getting more components and less opportunities for that full item carousel, I really like that kind of trade off. I think that's a good change.
Yeah. Plus, it's like, again, you're adapting to what you're given, right? And part of that adaptation is like, okay, well, I got given a bunch of this item, so I need to try to find this other item to make an item that's relevant based on what I got, right? Well, when you're thrown in a completed item carousel, like, it actually takes away some of that agency of like playing around what you're given. It's like, okay, well, I was trying to play around what I was given, and then I got this wrench thrown at me. So
yeah, why do I have 2 Shroud of Stillness?
Yeah, great. That's what that guy was saying, and then he wiped the whole team and realized he found...
won. No, it was crazy.
Wow.
Like, it happened, and like my mind was blown.
Wow.
But unfortunately for him, I didn't really need my mana.
Oh.
But yeah, it was just a cool thing. Like, and I just wanted to mention that again, there are just some items that are good if they're completed for you.
Yeah.
But now you have to make a decision more often to
Mhm.
make that item instead, which is a little bit of a nerf to some of those like Shroud of Stillness items.
True.
Zephyr is another one that I think a lot of people get on like a completed item carousel.
Yeah. That's what I like almost always go for, unless there's like a Guardian Angel or something that's like very high priority.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the other big thing is this new galaxy, my friends.
Yes. One last thing I want to talk about was the super dense galaxy. They like cleaned it up a little bit because it was just awkward.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
if
awkward.
if you didn't realize that it was the galaxy or you weren't paying attention, you just get completely ranched that one level, and then you're kind of like behind for no reason.
You don't even have a unit to put in.
Right. And now you just get it. So that the super dense galaxy that gives you a force of nature can be even more fun for everyone. Get it? Because force of nature, fun. Everybody gets it. You guys don't get it. Oh, God, I really am turning 30, aren't I? The new galaxy is the Galactic Armory. All players start with the same 2 full items.
I don't know how I feel about this one.
I really am going to need to play it because it seems...
What it does is it makes the same units competitive across all 8 people.
Yes,
so what I'm
true.
worried about is that those units just don't. Maybe this is why it's fun, right? It's just all of a sudden these units are contested way earlier than before, and then no one gets them. Or maybe this is I don't know how I feel about this, and I think you're right. Like, I'll have to play it, but it doesn't feel very fun just reading it and thinking about it.
It doesn't seem exciting. Like Trade Sector was like, ooh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to do some crazy stuff. It's going to create treasure trove. It's like, ooh, this is going to be cool. It's going to be even not really super dense galaxy, but kind of super dense galaxy. It's like, okay, I can have 10 units pretty easily here. This one, it's like, I'm going to start with 2 full items. Okay.
If it was like 3 full items, there's probably a reason why it's not like where you can build like a full carry really early. That's where I think about it. And yeah, you're going to spread your items out. Like, what if you get like a Seraphs and a Warmogs, right? You're going to have those decision makings. But
yeah,
I don't know how this like affects the game. And in terms of competitive integrity, it's actually probably higher up there because it's like the less, because like with Treasure Trove, you're just leaning into RNG.
Yeah.
Right? You're just like, have fun, kids.
Yeah.
Look at this clown fiesta.
telling you, I think a clown fiesta should be. I think we're
It would be
mischaracterizing our clowns.
absolutely terrifying. A real
Yeah,
clown
if you're
fiesta would
afraid
be
of clowns,
terrifying. And who's not after
that's
watching
true.
it?
Not It Chapter 2. That didn't scare me at all. It, the very first, or the remake. Tim Curry ruined clowns for me, not whoever the other new one is.
Here's a hot take: Tim Curry's best role, Clue.
I was gonna say that. I think I'm pretty sure we've talked about. I think like every 12 or so episodes, every 13 episodes exactly, we talk about it because it's episode 39. I would imagine it's probably exactly 13.
Yeah,
episodes.
no. Clue's a really good movie.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I just don't really know. Like, I'm trying to like be big brain and philosophical about it, but I just don't quite know where to go with it. So I'll leave my opinions until I play it.
I'm wondering if there's if it's just literally any two random full items, can they be the same item, or is there a pool? Do they never overlap? Is there okay, there's only actually 10 full items that you can get. It's not like you're never getting a Bloodthirster and an IE or something like that. Or maybe it's always an AP item and an AD item. That I think would be interesting, because then it's like everyone is starting the same. All the comps are still kind of aligned in terms of I can still go AD, I could still go AP comp. Where it's like if you start with 2 IEs, Star Guardians probably, or Sorcerer's probably not looking too hot, right? And it's like Aurelia skyrockets, Jinx, all those things skyrocket.
Or maybe it is because no one else is going to be.
That's the other part of it, that it's again, what level are you on and what level is the lobby on? I think that's interesting. But even so, you're still going to be behind if the AD comp, even if it's contested, has 2 IEs and versus your sorcerers that have 2 IEs, that sort of thing. So there's a couple of unknowns, or at least they're unknown to us as of this recording, that we'll need to know to have a better grasp.
It's a little vague.
Yeah,
it's a little vague. I would assume it's a lot like Thieves Clubs, where there's a spreadsheet. Yeah, because you could just get. I mean, but even if you do get bonked with 2 bad items, then the whole lobby's getting bonked, right?
Well,
and that forces you to maybe think outside the box, and I think that's maybe where they're going. But I just would rather play Treasure Trove.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I haven't seen Lilac Nebula in probably 3 patches. I'm not even sure.
Actually, my last game I played was Lilac Nebula, so I know it's in the game.
It's so funny because I feel like everyone has a galaxy they feel like they see way more often than the other ones.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad I'm not one of those people who see Medium Legends all the time.
I don't. I think I might be the only person that likes Medium Legends.
It's just really long.
Yeah.
That's all. The game can be really long, and eventually, I'm done pooping, right? But I got to keep playing.
True.
True. But yeah. Quickly on the Galaxy odds, basically, I think the big thing is Treasure Trove, Trade Sector. Galactic Army is going to be your highest chance, then Trade Sector, Treasure Trove, and then the rest of the galaxies have the same 7.5% chance.
Yep.
You have a 30% chance of a normal game.
Yeah. So we're 70-30 right now, galaxies to not.
Which is, I think, a good number. And I'm assuming some of the galaxies will get cycled out too.
I think they've mentioned that.
At the Midset, because they're just ones that aren't as interactive, or maybe a little bit too interactive, like Treasure Trove, right? I just love. Oh man, I'm so, that's why Las Vegas is a dangerous place for me. The fact that there's, I almost said something. I'll just say it. The fact that there's balls everywhere that I can just grab and
pull.
And
also slot machines.
And also slot machines. Yeah, it's just that shiny shiny money / loud noises and coins hitting the thing really it tickles my fancy as someone who likes to re-roll a lot too.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for Super Dense Galaxy too, because I think having it after level 3 actually allows you to hit a couple traits and synergies a little bit quicker, and will speed up the game because there are just more units on the field earlier. So we'll see how that affects game time as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to change that much from what the change is going to affect that much in terms of people who knew about it, because it's just instead of like you wanting to level or the game basically being like you should level at this point so that you get your force of nature early, the game is just doing it for you now, essentially, all at the same time for everyone. So I think it's more of like a quality of life thing than an actual change, but I like it overall. Okay, traits quickly here. Mech pilot attack damage is going from 100% of pilot's attack damage to 80 plus 45% of pilot's attack damage. This is a nerf, according to the breakdown. So nerf to mech pilot damage. Infiltrators now jump regardless. If there is a target within their attack range at the start of combat. So
looking at you, Infiltrator Kale.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And Space Pirate 4's item drop chance is going from 20 to 25%. So you're even more likely to get items when you've got that Gangplank and all of the other Space Pirates.
It's so crazy that Mech Pilot got nerfed because we casted a tournament where mechs were awful.
Terrible.
Terrible. I casted 2 tournaments where mech's highest placement was 4th place.
Yeah.
And then it wins the Starside Invitational, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's like the coolest thing about like pro players and innovation, the fact that like we're still nerfing mech pilots, even though in our experience in kind of like the tier 2 competitive scene, people were having a very hard time adjusting to the mech pilot nerfs.
Yeah.
So this is interesting to me that we're still here because it just goes to show that you can balance for that top side too, because I don't think many people that are plat and below are running mech infiltrators very well.
Right. Well, it was interesting. Apparently, Delicious Milk was complaining about how Poppy's getting nerfed because apparently at the highest levels, it's not like that comp is actually not that good. Like they figured out how to beat those hyper roll comps with Poppy, or how to counter Poppy. So
Giant Slayer. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Interesting.
Jinx with Giant Slayer is how I've seen Irelia's get countered. Poppy's.
Yep. Okay, Boop, you want to do some champ arenas?
Tier 1. Poppy Buckler toss damage 175 to 250. I can read.
Buckler toss damage. That's the William Shatner reading. Yeah.
100, 175, 250 to 100, 150, 200. So not a huge nerf at the second tier, but third tier is getting a pretty big, and that did a good amount of damage early.
Yeah.
Especially if you're able to hyper roll into tier 3 Poppy super early. That 50 damage you'll feel.
Yeah.
Poppy Buckler. Sorry. Buckler toss shield 200, 350 to 500 to 200, 300, 400. So 100 less shielding at tier 3 and 50 less at tier 2, unchanged at tier 1, which is fine. Twisted Fate wildcards damage. It's so crazy to see this character get nerfed because he was like meme-worthy bad on almost all other iterations of this guy.
And got no play and got no changes the last patch and just became super good.
Well, people started itemizing him with his auto attacks plus Morello's, which was just a little bit too much utility, I guess. So wild card damage per card going from 200, 300, 550 to 200, 300, 450. So again, the hyper roll is getting nerfed. Zaya AD going from 55 to 50. I think that could have been a little bit more, but the moral of the story is the Shredder / Pikachu comp won't hit as hard, especially earlier on. And then Ziggs total mana is going from 45 to 40. So buff for Ziggs.
Buff for old Ziggsy Poo. Yeah, interesting. We've seen a decent amount of rebels getting played, so interesting to see.
So this is gonna make machine gun Ziggs, I think, a thing. Where you get second demo machine guns. Like if you could get 2 Seraphs, then he just ults pretty much on auto attack.
And he can be a mana printer too, right? Like he could be the Sona.
He could be the new Sona.
He's not as good because you'd rather have the healing, I think, overall, but still
they're both
print.
Rebels. There's really no reason to put it on Ziggs, but
right.
If for some reason your Sona stacked on items, right, you can put your Chalice on Ziggs.
Right. Okay, for tier 2 champions, we've got Yasuo is getting a health buff from 600 up to 700, and his total mana is going down from 100 to 90. So a little bit of a buff for Yasuo after his the Smash Bros comp was nerfed, and his targeting was changed. Really don't see that comp anymore, so a little bit of a buff back up for Yasuo. For tier 3 champions, we've got Karma attack speed bonus on shield going from 35, 50, 100% to 50, 75, 125%.
Yeah, that's a buff. Like whenever I think whenever a tier 1 gets buffed like that, right, where you're just getting 15% more than you were before, right? Like that's a big deal, and this is a buff to Mystics, not just Karma, because Soraka Karma is actually a really great combo that you just can't really use right now. You can put it in a Star Guardian comp, but yeah, this attack speed thing, I've always thought Karma would be really cool in a Chrono comp too. Just to kind of like as a win more. But yeah, 50% attack speed is a lot of damage. For that first ult, they just have to live through the shield.
Really really nice buff to all tiers of Karma. And then Syndra's unleashed power damage per orb is going from 80, 120, 200 to 100, 150, 250. So a little bit of power put back into Syndra. Maybe we see Star Guardians come back a little bit.
Maybe. I think this is in response to the mana nerf being way harder than I think a lot of people expected. So instead of giving her more ults, they're giving her more damage per
stronger
orb,
ults,
which is a really great way to bring her in check.
Yeah, it's just like Star Guardians has been on the down low because the best iteration of playing Star Guardians at all has been Candyland, and Syndra's not your carry in Candyland. So now you maybe have some other options if you want to run Star Guardians or if you get itemized for Star Guardians. Okay, and then the last set of changes.
One more thing, because the Mystic changes, and since Soraka is a part of that Star Guardian thing, it actually makes all the Star Guardians way tankier.
True.
So they should be able to survive magic damage, like other magic damage comps, much better, especially with Ziggs ulting so often. So hopefully what that means is if you're trying to run like a Star Guardian Mystics, is that it gives enough time for Soraka to at least get one or two ults on, and keep you alive, because it's kind of like Soraka and Karma make artificial tanks out of your units, I think. So that's something to think about as well.
Definitely interesting if we see Star Guardians come back in, if they'll be dominant or if they'll just be playable. I'll take either, honestly. I like that comp. And then the last set of champion changes here are at Tier 4. Kale Divine Ascent Waves damage going from 125, 200, 750 to 125, 200, 600. So Tier 3 Kale getting a little tap back down into reality. 150 damage per wave. It's quite a bit, actually. Vel'Koz spell damage going from 425, 550, 2000 to 450, 600, 2000. So just a little bit of a 25 and then 50 spell damage.
A little pat on the butt.
Yeah, a little pat on the tentacle.
You could do it. You could do it.
Yeah, a couple little yoinks on the tentacles.
Some tent pats. Some tent pats.
Little tent pats.
Yeah, little tent pats.
We're so
stupid. Oh my god.
And then Wukong cycle targeting now prioritizes hitting the closest enemy he hasn't hit yet rather than a random one.
Thank God. That's a buff.
Yeah, that's a buff.
So that's a straight buff for Wukong.
Yeah.
Wukong's actually not. Where is he? He's not listed on these patch notes.
Yeah,
even for adjust. I guess it's a QOL change, quality of life. But I have definitely, so it's actually really interesting because there have been times where like he's targeted someone in the top left corner and then switched over to like people in my backline and is able to just run a lawnmower everyone on the way. But this should be a little bit more consistent in terms of dealing with the front line, which I think he's better at anyway. And so hopefully there's a little bit more counterplay too. If you're Vel'Koz that's like trying to ult, he's not just randomly taking you down, because that doesn't feel good, right? When
Yeah.
RNG makes your ult go away, and there's a little bit about of that in the game, but I think it feels better when you know the system behind the choice, and
Right.
this should definitely help that.
Yep. All right, Boop. Let's hear these item changes.
Chalice of Harmony, mana restore 10 and R:8.
I don't know what that means. I'm guessing it's from 10, going from 10 down to 8, probably.
Probably. Yeah. Cool. Deathblade stacks.
Formatting.
Yeah, 0/1. Deathblade now displays the amount of attack damage gained rather than stacks. That's good. I like that. Quality of life.
QLL.
Because it's hard. It's hard to kind of see like what it's doing.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why Titans Resolve.
Don't make me do math in the middle of it.
Yeah, and Titans Resolve does it, so why not Deathblade? Morello and red buff damage burn 20 small nerf 27% to 25%.
Yeah. So I think the biggest one, well, Deathblade has been moved around a bunch. It started with 2 and then it started at 3.
2-3-0-1. Yeah, I think is how it went.
Yeah, so maybe getting Deathblade. The problem with Deathblade, when Deathblade first came out, and I'm trying to think, I don't even remember what was double sword, but like what did it used to be? Was it IE?
Wasn't that one where double sword was IE, or was it
God, I don't remember.
Was it the one that was it Last Whisper, the one that like jumped to each unit?
No, that was I'm thinking of before gloves came out.
Sword of the Divine?
Yes,
No.
yes.
Was that it?
No, that was sword plus bow. We'll have to go back into the archives, but ever since Deathblade came out, we've been saying like it's a fine item to have, and it's one of those items that you don't mind picking up on the carousel if it's already built for you, and using it. Like it's a perfectly reasonable item. But the problem is like 2 swords. It's like if I want to have a guardian angel, I'm going to need to find a 3rd sword in my game, and I have a hard enough time finding 1. So I really don't want the Deathblade to be like my first 2 swords. So it's like I would rather have a guardian angel most of the time, and I'd rather have an IE. I'd rather have one of each of those before I have a Deathblade. So that would mean I would need 4 swords. And 7 years ago, before I consider building a Deathblade.
You paid me.
I paid myself. It was the dumbest joke I've ever made.
I actually thought it was pretty funny, but it still hurt.
Yeah.
That's why I appreciate things that hurt me sometimes, like my dad. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to go dark for a second.
Yikes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dad. I love you. Stay safe out there. Love you. But
man. Okay.
So
I was gonna make a really dumb joke.
Track.
Yes. Long story short, I don't want to build Deathblade.
Yeah. I do it because I like memeing and I like having fun and I don't like being like other people.
Yeah.
Which is why I lose a lot. But it's so funny because like even in like so many games, right? Like I'll like in like Battlegrounds or TFT, I'll do stupid things and I'll get to a rank that I'm ashamed of. Right. And then be like, okay, I gotta take this seriously.
Yeah, turn it on.
And then I'll like snap off like 3 out of 5 wins, and then I'll stop doing it, and then I'll just go back down.
Yeah.
And then do the same thing again. I don't know why I do that. But I think Deathblade inherently needs to be a risky item to build. There is a card in Battlegrounds that is the Hungry Dragon or something that like if you win, it gains stats.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like permanent stats. I think you get like +2/+2 after every victory.
Oh, wow.
And I think like it should be more like that. Deathblade as an item, right? That's like all right for maybe it needs to be that kind of gamble. Because the investment is a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do you make it worth it? Well, on the top end, you might absolutely rip people apart, potentially on Ash or something. Right. But on the bottom end, it might not work at all. And so I think that's kind of like what they're going for. It needs to inherently be a risky item, but I don't think the top end right now is worth using those swords. But if I see it on a carousel, I might think about it.
Yeah. it was the type of thing that I think was better when there were summoner or elise spiders or stuff like that. It was like
Rangers.
I could get some where I could like easily get some stacks on it. Or like get additional stacks, but and something like it every time you win it gets a stack would be an interesting concept, but I just imagine like, oh well, this guy had an early win streak and then he got rewarded for his early win streak and then was uncatchable because he has an item that I literally can't even build and get because
maybe you lose a stack on loss. Or something like that, right? Like
it's still
I like the gambling trade-off, right? Because whenever you do choose
you lose
to
all
use
stacks on loss, maybe.
Whenever you do choose to play the hungry whelp, that is almost a guaranteed way of never winning another round again. So like no matter what, it's like a curse. So I'm actually stuck. It's a really cool concept, and I would love to see some of that. I like that kind of RNG, right? Where it's like you're gambling on yourself as opposed to like the system. And I want to see something like that. And I think Deathblade is the closest to that we have in this particular game, and that's fun to me.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit more of that in future iterations. But right now, it's just like I'm gonna buy a giant. I'm gonna use this for a Giant Slayer. I'm gonna use this for a GA or an IE or Bloodthirster even.
Yeah. Almost all of the sword items are better than Deathblade, and also it takes 2 of your swords, so yikes. Yeah, I mean, I want Spear before this, too, in a lot of cases. I guess it depends on the comp, but... Okay, that's pretty much the end of the changes here. One bug fix I want to address here is that now, while viewing your board from the carousel, equipped items are visible again, so we can actually see what we have on our boards when we're in carousel.
Also wanted to point out, Miss Fortune will no longer occasionally have her larger cone upgrade when the player who owns her hasn't purchased it yet. So sometimes it was just doing it. So that's a good. If you're wondering why maybe this MF feels really strong right now, that was probably it.
For sure. But overall, I think nice little tight little compact patch. Just a couple of changes here and there. Couple little temp pats. Couple little little temp pat here or there. Little mech pilot adjust. Little buckler toss taparoo. But overall, I think a good patch.
Presented by Jersey Mike.
Yes, we brought it back.
How funny would it be if we like see the Mech come out and there's a big Jersey Mike's logo?
That would be interesting and a world I want to live in. But
talk about selling out. Just getting food sponsors in game now, I guess.
We have a deck for official sandwich sponsor of Little Legends podcast. Is
Origin,
still open.
The traits will be like McDonald's, Jersey Mike's, right? Instead of like, welcome to the fast food galaxy.
And they like purposely make like rival ones bad. Like the Pizza Hut, the Pizza Hut trait is just unplayable. It like makes you lose a health every round or something like that.
Yeah, it's ham and pineapple.
Oh, actually, I don't mind that. But that was the thing that made Boop question me. I don't know.
Fruit and cheese very rarely works outside of charcuterie.
What about a pineapple ricotta pie? Pineapple ricotta pie. How do you not like a pineapple ricotta pie? Okay, I've been watching way too much Sopranos lately. So
am I offended?
You should be. My girlfriend definitely is, but that's okay. She probably can't hear me, and I will probably get slapped after the stream goes down. But speaking of the stream going down, that is going to be the end of the show.
You got there. You closed it.
We got there. We closed it.
We got there. We closed it.
Boop, any last second stuff that you want to talk about before we get going here?
No, it's good to be back. Just so everyone is aware, the reason why I wasn't there for the last podcast was my father-in-law unfortunately passed away. He was suffering from a very rare genetic condition called scleroderma, which usually is just dry skin on your hands, but went into his lungs. But the reason why I'm saying it is in today's day and age, it's hard to connect with anybody, especially with coronavirus going around. And one thing that I really appreciated was I was able to talk to him in the hospital really frequently and build a relationship with him. And I was a better person. I'm a better person now because I knew who he was. And so just he was better, and then 2 days later he got pneumonia and passed. You never know how long anyone around us is going to be around. So reach out, say hello, say I love you, squash that beef, because these things happen, and it's the first time in my life someone this close to me has passed, and I'm going through this for the first time, and it's hard. And my only wish was that I was able to develop that relationship much sooner, and I fumbled that chance. So this is, like, unfortunately a depressing way to end the show, but I kind of wanted to mention it, give him my respects, but also share with everybody that, love is out there, and it's good to connect, especially even if it's online or on the phone. It can be hard right now, but definitely go out there and say hello, because you never know who needs it, and if you're going to be able to do it again. So thank you for the support of the community as well. A lot of people reached out, and that definitely helped. And of course, for you, Blev, you may, being on the podcast is really good. Helps me think about other things, and it reminds me why I enjoy video games so much. And so I know I kind of sprung that on you, but I wanted to finish it off by mentioning that, because it's important to me right now, and is going to continue to be important. And I wanted to pass along that information.
No, it's obviously a somber note to go out on, but I recently also my it was a while now, but my grandfather also passed a while ago, and what got me through it, Boop? Jersey Mike subs got me.
Oh my!
Had to bring it back. But for real though, my grandfather is dead.
End the show.
And on that note,
at Busasaurus Rex on Twitter.
You can follow me. Don't follow me. You can come to the Discord, discord.me/Little Legends podcast. God, we're never getting a Jersey Mike sub sponsorship now, are we?
We were so close.
We were so close. Discord.me/Little Legends podcast. Join us on game night. That is the level of dumb that I am at all times at game night. So if you like that, be there. And if you like to watch train wrecks, also be there. Because that's
not just us. Yeah, Lobby 2. We're all train wrecks. Every single one of us.
It's all there. But Discord.me/Little Legends podcast. Follow Boop at Boopasaurus Rex on Twitter. All that good stuff. And until next time, for Boop, I'm Blevins. And we will see you at game night. And if not, we'll see you next week. And we'll be talking about some more Teamfight Tactics. See ya.